race is really worth, I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7970.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21 12681. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. It means we're brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And we're fired up that you're here with us. Hopefully everybody is getting prepared, doing the best to stay as safe as possible over the next 48, 72 hours as Francine approaches the Louisiana coastline. Word out of LSU, they'll be closed on campus the next 2 days. I know I got information from the kiddos' daycare that they're going to be shut down. My wife is not going into work tomorrow. They've been told to go home. So a lot of that happening around the area. If you're in South Louisiana, again, hope everybody is safe and sound and doing what they need to do to get ready for what's going to go on here in the next couple of days. And we're here to talk a little bit of sports and maybe get your mind off that just a touch here as we head toward another football weekend. LSU headed to South Carolina and the Saints headed to Dallas. Probably a good week and good weekend for those two programs and teams to get out of town as we brace for Francine here over the next couple of days. But we got a lot to talk about over the next 2 hours. We got some Dennis Allen sound that we'll certainly get to. Glenn West always with us on Tuesdays. He's going to jump on at 1:30. Sharie Ishack with us at 2:30 talking some Saints. So plenty to get to here before 3 o'clock. Thanks for hanging out with us here. Hope your work week is off to a good start. We'll start with some thoughts on LSU's running game. This was obviously, as everyone's phone goes nuts with an alert of some sort. I'm sure that's happening all over the place.
Hurricane warning?
This one. You got a hurricane? All right, well, that's just par for the course. I think we're all aware that it's going to show up, but that won't be the last time that phones go off here. But let's talk some LSU football with the running game. I talked about it a good bit yesterday. I wrote about it in my column after the game. I wrote about it in my column after the USC game. And I can't clear my throat.
You got it, Hunt. You got this.
I mean, it just came out of nowhere. I've been talking all morning, and all of a sudden I get on the air, and I can't keep my throat clear. But we're good now. It's obviously been a huge story. A huge story. To the point where yesterday, Brian Kelly started talking about LSU's running game before anyone asked him a question. And I noticed that. It was obviously something he felt the need to come to the podium to address before anyone else brought it up and phrased a question, however it was that they might phrase it. And I'm interested in his decision to do that. And we have the sound from Brian Kelly, and I want to play first like what he said right out of the chute in his press conference on Monday.
This has to do with how teams have wanted to defend us, and that is they don't want us to run the football. And I told Joe Sloan, Joe, I do not want this to be about, well, we have to run it to show everybody that we're big and bad and we have an offensive line. If they protect like they have, and we haven't given up a sack in 2 games, and let Garrett Nussmeier throw the ball against cover 1, we have great receivers and we'll beat you that way. Balance to me is being equally as good at running it as throwing it. Now, if South Carolina comes out in 3 down and plays cover 2, I guarantee you we're running the football. But when you're loaded in there and there's 8 guys on the line of scrimmage and you're just saying, oh, I can't block them all, what sense does it make really in those situations? We'll pick our spots.
I think there's a lot of truth in what he's saying, and I find some flaws in what he's saying. It's somewhere in the middle of those two things. There's no question that LSU has been hyper efficient throwing the ball. Garrett Nussmeier threw 6 touchdowns on Saturday. He threw 2 more on last Sunday. He has really not thrown an interception outside of the one play at the end of the game against USC. As Brian Kelly mentioned, like, LSU's not giving up sacks or giving up a lot of pressures. Like, the passing game has been very efficient. I mean, against USC, you rolled up 421 yards of offense and controlled the ball for 33 minutes. Like, if you would have told me those two statistics, points aside, and told me, 421 yards and 33 minutes of time of possession, I would have gone, that's a really good recipe. You're keeping your defense off the field for more than half the game. You're controlling the football. You are progressing and gaining yards. Like, they're doing a good job of that. But it's a one-dimensional attack at this point. And this is where I kind of push back at Brian Kelly, and I go, are you sure that you can run the ball? Because I'm looking at statistics, and keep in mind, statistics at this point in the calendar are really, really hit or miss, because some teams have played USC, some teams have played North Carolina State, some teams have played Arkansas Pine Bluff, and then you got Nicholls State. Like, it's not apples to apples here. I think we all understand that. South Carolina and Kentucky have played a conference game. Auburn's played a couple of tomato. I mean, Auburn played a team from the ACC and a tomato can. Arkansas has played a team from the Big 12 and a tomato can. Like, statistics can lie at this point in the calendar. You're all well aware of that. But when I look at LSU's offense, they're running the ball for 113 yards a game. That's dead last in the SEC. They're at 3.66 yard per carry, 14th in the SEC. So you're not really establishing any sort of a running game at this point. I look kind of nationally and at what LSU's doing, and you don't really stack up from that perspective either when it comes to the running game. You're way towards the bottom in the country in terms of doing anything on the ground. You're into the hundreds. And that's just a hard place to make a living if you just don't do it at all. You look at the game against Nicholls, and your tailbacks carried the ball 14 times. 8 of the 14 carries were stopped for 2 yards or less. In 14 carries against an FCS team, you only had 1 carry that went for more than 10 yards by a tailback. And when I look at that, I've been watching LSU play FCS teams and lower level teams for 3 decades, and they always can run the ball. Now, they weren't as efficient throwing the ball throughout the course of time at this, and so maybe what they're doing right now wasn't an option back then, but I believe that LSU, if they wanted to, could line up and run the ball more often than they're doing right now, and I would like to see it produce a little bit more success. I mean, it's not just by alignment of the defense. I just don't know that I believe that. And I listened to T-Bob talk in the morning, and he watches the tape, and I'm certainly going to take his assessment of LSU's run blocking after watching game tape more than me looking at the game, watching the highlights, poring over stats. Like, T-Bob's going to be the corner of the store you want to live in for that kind of analysis. And right now, he's suggesting by watching the tape, like, they're not getting a push. It's not just there are too many guys in the box. Like, the guys that are there, LSU's not knocking them back. So it's got to be a concern, and I feel like it's probably a concern to Kelly, and he felt the need to kind of shape the narrative yesterday to come out right out of the chute in his press conference and squash that. Because it's one of those deals, I see this in politics all the time. Not that I follow politics all the time, but I do see politicians do it. You take an issue that's polarizing, and you just completely slant it one way. And generally speaking, if you work hard enough, you can find a way to slant things. And it just feels like Brian Kelly is seeing an offense that's not running the ball effectively and is going, they're just kind of lining up with a lot of guys, and we can throw it, so we're fine. And then he makes the claim that if South Carolina comes out in 3 down and plays a ton of cover 2, that at that point, we'll run the ball, which no one can disprove because we haven't played that game yet. Now look, Gary Nussmeier's atop the country in passing touchdowns. LSU's averaged 400 yards per game. Like, it looks pretty good on some portions of the stat sheet. But then again, you're one of 11 teams in the country that doesn't have a single rushing touchdown, and only 7 teams in the country have run it fewer times than LSU. Those are the national stats that I'm alluding to. Only 7 teams in the country have fewer rushing attempts than LSU. I think 2 things are true. I think, 1, LSU needs to embrace what they are good at, which is pass protection, efficient passing, playmaking on the outside. And I think, 2, they need to run the ball better. They need to find something that works in the ground game, whether that's Bo Bordelon playing a few more snaps, whether that's Mason Taylor and Kamorian Pimpton getting better at blocking on the edge, whether that's different styles of runs that may combat the numbers issue that you think you're having. But I'm watching the game, and I just don't think I notice USC and Nichols just slamming massive numbers in the box. I notice LSU handing the ball off and getting met at the line of scrimmage. So yesterday when I listened to that press conference, my gut tells me that Brian Kelly knows there's a bit of an issue. They've got to get it figured out, and he just wanted to get out in front of it. And that's good PR. That's good handling of the situation. So it goes back to my thing that I don't really care what you say in the press conference. I don't care if you want to come out and say, yeah, we're not running the ball well enough, we have to run it better, or you want to come out and do what he did yesterday and just kind of change the narrative a little bit. I don't care which approach you take in terms of public relations. All I care about is when you go out to Columbia, South Carolina on Saturday, the running production's better. Monday press conferences, don't care. Say whatever you want. Saturday, game time, do something different. That's got to happen for LSU coming up this week, because I love Will Campbell. I love Emory Jones, and we'll hear some sound yesterday from Shane Beamer. He got off the microphone like 15 minutes ago, and I listened to a lot of it. But the strength of South Carolina's defense is the edge, and we will talk about that as the week progresses. If you get into a bunch of 3rd and 8s and 9s because you don't run the ball well early, and you let those guys pin their ears back, as good as Will Campbell and Emory Jones are, they're not going to win every rep against these guys. This is a good front that South Carolina's got. They will rush the passer if they don't trust that you can run it at all. If they think all you're going to do is sit back there and sling it 38 times and run it 18, they're sending the cavalry. They're going to have a home crowd behind them. They got good talent on the edge. It's going to be a bit of a problem if you can't figure out a way to establish something on the ground. That's got to be the mission for LSU over the next 3 days of practice. Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. When we come back, we'll start talking a little bit of Saints. Glenn West talking Tigers in 15 minutes. You're listening to a Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety is a big issue in the bathroom. I talk about this every single week, especially as folks age, loved ones in your life, yourself maybe. Bathroom can be a hazardous place. Slips and falls can be really, really catastrophic. You can prevent that to a degree, mitigate against that with the folks at One Bath and Closets. They have non-stick floors they're happy to put in for you. They can put guardrails and handrails around some slippery spots. They can do walk-in tubs. They can do benches in the shower. All of those things can help prevent slips and falls in the bathroom that can be bad, bad news. If you never thought about that before and are thinking, oh, that might be a good idea, One Bath and Closets needs to be your first and only move. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. You can see testimonials there. You can see pictures of their fantastic work there. You can also request that consultation with David Duvall and his team. And when you do, tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you $1,000 off of your order. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, onebathandclosets.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless you add mountain.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
We'll chat with Glenn West to go 24/7 coming up in 15 minutes. Always looking forward to that conversation on Tuesday. Sharie Ishack in an hour and 15 minutes talking about the Saints, who are 1-0 after a dominant performance over the Carolina Panthers. Really, really encouraging season opener for the black and gold. Hopefully they can build on that this week as they go face a tougher opponent and a tougher venue for them. It'll be the Saints at Dallas coming up on Sunday. Dennis Allen met with reporters yesterday, had a chance to watch the film, and then re-meet with the reporters and kind of talk about some of the things that he saw. And the first thing that he wanted to talk about was the offensive line and their performance. It was obviously a huge question mark. It was why I didn't love the Saints in this game. Picked them to win, but in a very, very tight game. And the offensive line was pretty good by my eye watching on TV on Fox. I don't see what Dennis Allen thought.
I thought those guys played well. I mean, you got to look at everything in the totality of what, we were able to do. And I said this, I think, after the game, when you run the ball like that, when you're able to be effective throwing the ball and your quarterback doesn't get hit much and you put points up on the board like that, you can't do that and have your offensive line not play well. And yet we'll have a much stiffer test this weekend.
Whenever I hear Dennis Allen say, "and yet," it sounds exactly like Sean Payton. It's one of those deals that you pick things up from folks you spend a lot of time around, and it just feels like that's what it sounds like. But that's inconsequential to the actual answer there, which was actually true. You can't do anything without your offensive line. If your offensive line can't play, then you can't play. If you can't run block and you can't pass block, then you can't move the ball on the ground, and you're going to get crushed, and you're going to get your quarterback hurt. And that was obviously the biggest concern for the Saints. And I think that in terms of what the Saints did on the scoreboard, just absolutely annihilating the Panthers, that's an indictment on the Panthers organization and team as a whole. But I do think if you just break it down to offensive line, defensive line, the Panthers have real proven dudes on the defensive line, and the Saints held them at bay. So I'm not going to give the Saints a ton of credit for forcing Bryce Young into turnovers because I think he stinks. And I'm not going to give the Saints just massive amounts of kudos for blowing out the Panthers. That's a great performance. I'm not trying to take completely away from it, but what I'm trying to do is, you're going to beat the Panthers because they're bad, but the Panthers' defensive line is not that bad, and the Saints blocking them up front. I think that was the most encouraging thing that I saw in the game on Sunday. Taliesin Fuanga was obviously a big part of that at left tackle, and Dennis Allen spoke about the Saints' top pick.
I thought his first regular season game was pretty good, and there were still too many negative plays that we've got to get corrected, and I think we will. I think the key for us is that race to improve from week 1 to week 2, and it has to be in all areas. And so I think that's what our focus is going to be.
I think Fuanga right now feels like a hit as draft pick. It feels like that. It's early, and you can't make too many sweeping generalizations, but he looks the part. There was a question whether or not he could move over and play on the left side. It's not perfect. You wouldn't expect it to be perfect. But, you could tell last year, and that was even in year 2, when Trevor Penning lined up across from Arden Key and those guys from Tennessee in the opener, it was pretty evident pretty early. You're like, okay, this is not great. And so that was not the case with Fuanga on Sunday. There were a couple of bad reps, but there were a lot of really, really good reps, and that's what you're looking for, and I think he's going to continue to improve and be a really good piece for the Saints moving forward at that left tackle spot. This was a cool quote from Dennis Allen, and it piggybacks on top of Alvin Kamara's availability with the media after the game. And Ross Jackson at LouisianaSports.net wrote a great piece about Alvin Kamara and his playing in the game on Sunday amid this contract situation that he would really admittedly like to get resolved. But he showed up to practice, he showed up to camp, he showed up for the game, and he played very well. And Dennis Allen appreciates that from a veteran who we understand is in a contract negotiation.
Look, Alvin's been outstanding. He showed up, came to work every day. He's been a real pro about handling his business. And look, we know that contracts are part of, what we deal with in the NFL. And I think he's kind of put that to the side and just focused on the things that he can control. And that's how he goes out and plays the game.
Look, here's the deal. There is a disconnect, a natural disconnect in the way that fans view sports and the players view sports. Because the fan just wants to win. And while most of the players really want to win, there's a financial component to it that the fans don't really care about. Okay? It doesn't matter to Joe Saints fan if Alvin Kamara plays on an $8 million deal or a $4 million deal. And I could walk up and down the ramps of the Superdome to the most diehard fans on that team, and most of them could not tell you how much money Tyrann Mathieu's making in guaranteed cash this year. They could not tell you what DeMario Davis's cap hit is this year. They just that is a disconnect. And we as fans want the players to just want to play. We want them to just want to put on our uniform and go win. But we understand that there is a financial component to it that is foreign to us as fans. I heard Peyton Manning last night berating Brandon Ayuk because he missed all of camp, and then he drops a touchdown pass in the end zone, and Peyton goes, "Can we get our contract done, get into camp, get the reps, and make these plays?" And that sounds great. But you're talking about millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. My negotiation for what I am compensated for at Guarantee here didn't take very long. They tossed a number out there. I said, all right, let's go. And then we started doing radio shows. That's because it's a pretty insignificant amount of money in the grand scheme of things. The only time I've ever been in an actual negotiation that involved real dollars was selling a house. And my house was not worth $100 million like some of these NFL players are negotiating. So I can't even speak to the gravity of these negotiations. But I will say this. Alvin Kamara deserves a ton of credit for understanding he wants one more payday, for listening to his agent and making it known that he wants to get that done, and then taking the Saints' feedback, where the Saints, to their credit, in my opinion, are not in a rush to pay a 30-plus-year-old running back big-time dollars after 2 down seasons. That's not something I'm running to the table to cut that check for. And Kamara got that feedback, understood it, and said, okay, I'm going to practice, I'm going to play, and hopefully we get this done later. He doesn't have to do that. He could pout, he could moan, he could hold out, he could sit out, he could not play, he could not answer questions from the media. He could do all those things, which happens across the league all the time. And Alvin Kamara, to his credit, left one mini camp practice a day early to make a statement, showed up at training camp, worked out, was ready to go, in shape, ready to play in the game, goes over 100 yards for the 50th time in his career, gets in the end zone, wins the game, and goes to the post-game microphone and goes, yeah, I love this city. I want to play. I want to play. I want to win. And I want a new contract, but we'll get there. That is very, very admirable. And in this disconnect that we live in with professional athletes and fans, that one swings toward the fan side. Because Alvin Kamara is not happy with the business side of things, but he's putting it aside and going out there to play. I think that's very, very cool of him. And if you're a Saints fan, you should definitely appreciate that, as I'm sure most, if not every single one of them, absolutely appreciate Alvin Kamara. Really, from the second he showed up in New Orleans, he's been nothing but fantastic. Last piece here before we get to Glenn West. Dennis Allen talked about the Cowboys and some of the problems that they can present New Orleans coming up this weekend.
We're just now getting into, starting to look at that, and yet that doesn't shock me. I think they got a lot of talented players over there on defense, and I think Mike Zimmer is one of the better defensive minds in our league, and so they'll definitely be a challenge for us to have to deal with. Really, in all three phases, they're going to be well coached, and they got talented players over there, so this will be a great test for us.
It's a week-to-week league. We know that. I don't think the Bengals are going to cancel the season because New England came in there and won. And I don't think the Saints are destined for 16-1. And I don't think if the Saints go out there and lose by 10 points on the road, 14 points on the road, 17 points on the road, it means they're complete frauds. I think it's a week-to-week deal. I do think we get a little bit better barometer where the Saints are going on the road to play Dallas as opposed to a home game against Carolina. I could pretty easily and compellingly make the case the Saints' most winnable game is in the rearview mirror. They get credit. They win the game. But I think if they go beat Dallas, you got to take things pretty serious. If they go lose to Dallas in a close game, I think that's fairly encouraging. They go get dusted, I don't think you just pack it up and say they stink. But I think you do get more information this coming week going to play a team that really played well in week one, that's got a quarterback that's now in a little bit better mood, I think, and a wide receiver that's in a little bit better mood. And, they're good. And they're going to give, I think, more trouble to the Saints than Carolina could at basically every level of both sides of the ball. But it's going to be an interesting thing to watch. And I'm more interested in the Saints today than I was on Friday. I'll say that. That was eye-opening on Sunday. And I'm encouraged. I want to talk about the Saints doing great things. Trust me. My heart rate doesn't do the same thing when I watch the Saints game as it does when I watch an LSU game. That's well documented. But I want to see them win. It's more interesting to talk about here, more fun in South Louisiana. Let's see what they can do on Sunday. We'll talk more about the Cowboys as the week progresses here in South Louisiana. All right, when we come back, Glenn West, Go 24/7, will join us to talk Tigers, The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy in Sports, evolvept.com. Robbie Bolton, been a physical therapist here in Baton Rouge nearly 2 decades. He's worked with professional athletes, college athletes, high school athletes. But you don't have to be an athlete. You just have to be an active person. If you're an active person who wants to get back out there running every day, lifting weights every day, wants to get back on the golf course or the pickleball court, if you're a youth athlete trying to get back on the field, but you can't because pain is holding you back, that's what physical therapy is for. And if you've had a bad physical therapy experience or don't know where to go to get physical therapy, Robbie Bolton and his team at Evolve Physical Therapy in Sports are the place you need to be. It's the physical therapy clinic in Baton Rouge. They're so hands-on. They are so involved. They are invested personally in your ability to get back to being your active self. Whether it's the cupping, scraping, isokinetic testing, the dry needling they can do, all types of different processes to get you back to being your active self. Young and old, doesn't matter. Evolve Physical Therapy in Sports will get you back to being your active self. It's Evolve Physical Therapy in Sports, evolvept.com, evolvept.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart...
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Chugging right along here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. We will be at Plucker's tonight, 8:30 sports trivia. Cubs are out west playing the Dodgers, so I'll be watching the early portions
Good win
of that
last
game.
night.
That was a nice win last night. Kyle Hendricks, they're still
Too bad it doesn't matter.
a bajillion games out of the wild card. 5 to be exact. I did the math yesterday just for grins after they won. They'd have to go like 18-2 basically the rest of the way to have a realistic chance. Something tells me they won't be going 18-2, but I'll be watching at Pluckers tonight. You can come on by and see us, win some gift cards, eat some delicious wings, drink some cold beer. Should be a good time out there at Pluckers tonight. They bring you our Tuesday shows each and every week, and on those Tuesday shows, Glenn West to Go 24/7 joins us. He does so now. Glenn, how we doing?
Doing well, Hunt. Just trying to stay ahead of the content here, and with the possibility that we might be without power on Wednesday and Thursday. So got to get some stories in and published and ready to go for the next couple of days. But
that can happen.
Well,
I know how that goes. So we got live radio here. So if we're out of power, well, we got generators. I guess I'm not going to be off the hook for that. I'll be here tomorrow. So, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting week for the rest of the way here. As we see Francine kind of bearing down. What were your takeaways biggest takeaway from Saturday night with LSU and Nichols?
Yeah, it was a very alarming first half. First, kind of 30, 35 minutes of that game. Was really concerned with some of the long drives they had. They gave up defensively, in a way that kind of reverted back to last year, just not being able to get off the field there for a good part of the first half and into the second half as well. They clamped down on them in the second half, which is really good. I think they held them to under 100 yards, after that, long run by Colin Guggenheim that got the game to 2 points at one point in the third quarter. I mean, I thought coming into this thing last week that LSU would, be able to create a lot of separation and kind of get the starters a little bit of an extended rest, if you will. But they were playing into the fourth quarter. Nussmeier was out there for pretty much the entirety of the game. The offense was out there. First team defense was out there, and they were rotating a lot. So, I think it was a concerning game from a standpoint of just not executing at your highest, especially coming off of loss, was a little bit surprising to me. But you gotta chug along here and hope that they can get back on track this weekend against a South Carolina team that I think is a little bit. A little bit scary in terms of just the what kind of potential distractions could come with this week, and obviously a morning game and everything that comes along with that.
I was curious your thoughts. You've been in a lot of Brian Kelly press conferences over the years. I was interested that he led yesterday's press conference without being asked, defending his running game. Like, that was just something he obviously came to the podium understanding that he wanted to kind of shape the narrative that way. What did you make of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the narrative for 2 weeks has been that LSU can't get any push and that they can't run the ball, and you don't really need to go much much farther than a Google search to see, a lot of what's been written out there, a lot of what's been said, and so, I think from a coaching perspective, I understand him wanting to come out and defend his guys a little bit, but when you look at the numbers and you look at kind of the way this thing looks on the field, it's kind of hard to defend, those comments. And I think probably from my perspective, LSU is a team right now that doesn't have much of an identity in the run game. You hope they can get there at some point this year, and I think they will. Look, I mean, last year they had a lot of these guys up front, and they were able to open up some holes for some big Logan Diggs games. I mean, Logan Diggs had a really nice stretch in the middle of the season where he was kind of your lead back. I think they can get there again this year. It's just when is it going to come, and kind of what does this team look like before it gets there? So I think this is a really important weekend for LSU to try to get things going in that right direction. I mean, look, they averaged less than 3 yards a carry from the running back's perspective against a Nichols team that you should have been able to run the ball against, even if they did have 7 or 8 guys in the box. I mean, I feel like, if you have that push from your offensive line, those backs are seeing those running lanes, they should be able to at least, get a little bit more out of that run game than they were able to. But in the same breath, Nussmeier in the offense, from a passing perspective, did a really nice job. I think they took advantage, obviously, of what Nichols was giving them. They had a lot of one-on-one matchups that those receivers were able to win. So they were still able to move the ball pretty efficiently on offense from a passing perspective. But I do think that there was a lot out there that, that fans and outside people wanted to see from that run game that they just didn't show against Nichols, and hopefully that you get to see that here over the next couple weeks.
Look, this offense that everyone's bemoaning did not run the ball well against USC. Didn't run the ball well against Nichols. Against USC, they had 420 yards and had the ball for 33 minutes, and they scored 44 points in the game on Saturday. So can they be a finesse offense that beats people?
I think so. I think that's kind of how they're viewing how they're going to operate right now. I mean, until we can see a little bit more balance in this offense, I think you kind of have to lean into your strengths. And right now, your strengths is hitting the screen passes with your receivers, getting Kyron Lacy some open looks in the corners of end zones, and being a little bit more versatile with how you run out your passing game. I think they've done a really, really nice job of getting guys open at the receiver spots at tight end. Mason Taylor had a really nice week one. At least in the first half, he had a really nice week one. But they've got to get a little bit more balance in this offense. But until they do that, I think that they feel comfortable with what they're doing from a passing perspective. And I think they've had a lot of success. I mean, I would love to see Xavier Thomas touch the ball more than just the 5 times that he caught the ball against Nichols. I think he's a guy that you should be looking at 7, 8, 9, 10 times a game in whatever ways, screening game, in the backfield, getting him out on the perimeter, having him go deep. I mean, there's just a lot of different ways that I think you can use him. And so I've been very pleased with the passing from a passing perspective. And up front, they're blocking for Nuss. I mean, Nuss has not really had to have a whole lot of of pressure that he's had to deal with in these first couple weeks. So from that perspective, I think LSU's leaning into their strengths and they're doing a nice job. But you certainly would like to see more balance here over the next couple weeks.
Let's flip to the defensive side of the ball. Going to be some personnel shakeups for the second week in a row. Mordecai Alexander, Sage Ryan going back to safety. We'll see what happens with Major Burns. How do you kind of analyze what they're going to do with the secondary?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a big kind of talking point here because, I do think that this South Carolina quarterback, while he's a first-year starter, he's going to take some shots. He's a big physical quarterback that can really unleash the ball down the field, and I think they're going to try to challenge LSU secondary in that respect, and which is why I think it's really important that LSU's front seven gets back to what they were doing against USC and applying some pretty consistent pressure from that perspective. But yeah, look, I like the fact that they got Zy Alexander around 30 snaps against Nichols. I would imagine he sees a very similar workload this weekend against South Carolina. I think they're going to rotate him a lot. They're going to have Ashton Stamps, PJ Woodland, some combination of J.K. Johnson and Jair Brown. The one thing that I did take away, I think, from Kelly's presser yesterday is that they're going to kind of, be a by committee secondary, which I think is the way you have to operate right now. Have a lot of guys playing 35, 40 snaps instead of, a couple of guys playing 60 or 70 snaps. I would really like to see more of Javian Toviano at that star position, for example. I think Deshaun Spears, Kylan Jackson, Jordan Gilbert, Jordan Allen, Sage Ryan, those are kind of the five guys that you can pencil in at safety that are going to be rotating throughout the game. So they've got as many as 10 or 11 defensive backs that I think they're going to utilize throughout the course of this game. And I think that's probably the best way to approach it right now if you're LSU.
Up front defensively without Guillory, I mean, what is realistic for this group now?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kelly touched on it a little bit yesterday, but they're going to have the linebackers, the safeties, all those guys helping that group out up front. I mean, it's going to be a by committee effort, I think, again, and trying to slow down the run game. And look, Raheem Sanders for South Carolina is a great test here because he's a guy that has a very explosive potential. I mean, we saw it a couple years ago at Arkansas where he ran for over 1,400 yards. He's got that kind of game in him. And if he springs loose into the second level, he's very tough to bring down. So it's going to be very important that the safeties, the linebackers are on their fits. I would personally love to see more, 3-man, 3-down lineups with 3 linebackers behind those defensive linemen. I think that would really help from an athletic standpoint of not letting those, backs get into the second level, whether it's Perkins and Weeks and Penn shearing the field. I think that would be as many opportunities as LSU can get to have those 3 on the field together. I think would make this defense a lot better. So outside of that, I mean, I think that they really have to have this by committee approach here, and they're going to be rotating a bunch of guys. It's not going to be just Gio Paez and JVR Suggs. They're going to have Sean Washington back there. They're going to have not McKinley, but Ahmad Bro will be in there. We'll see if they activate McKinley for this game. Kimo Macagnoli. So they've got some guys. They just don't have a lot of experience, and it'll be very interesting to see how they kind of write up the game plan this weekend.
How do you think LSU operates in what's going to be a really loud environment on Saturday? It's going to be game day. They're going to be packed in there. They're going to be playing Sandstorm with the towels waving. How do you think LSU deals with their first true road test?
Yeah, I mean, they've got to come out with some energy. This is kind of a week that already, I think, penciling in coming into the season, you could see is kind of like, all right, LSU better be up for this game. They better wake up for this game. But now, obviously, with the storm and kind of the potential distractions that could come in the middle of the week in terms of getting your preparation in, they've got to be on top of things on Saturday when they get there to the stadium. And we'll see. I mean, I honestly, this team has not played to its potential yet, in my opinion, not even close to what it can be. And until we get a chance to see that, it's going to be hard to predict kind of what we see from this team on a game in, game out basis. I mean, I think that there's talent here at all levels, but we just haven't seen it consistently for 4 quarters yet. And this is kind of the weekend where you have to start getting on that right track and start playing some complementary football that Brian Kelly's talked so much about the last couple weeks.
Thanks, Glenn.
All right. Thank you, guys.
He's Glenn West, senior writer, Go 24/7. All your team coverage, all your recruiting coverage, they've got you covered over there at Go 24/7. 7. We got one segment to go in hour number 1. When we come back, best player in the state of Louisiana making a move. Where to? It's new news to us. We'll talk about that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LeBear's Baton Rouge, your game watching center. They got the biggest screens. They got fantastic food and drink there at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook that you can dine in person. We are out there on Thursdays when LSU is out of town. That means this week on Thursday, we will be there and fired up for it. If you don't want to come out to LeBear Sportsbook, but you'd like to compete against me, I got an opportunity for you to do it with the Cover 5 SEC contest. You download the Penn Play app, you get your number, download the Cover 5 app, and you can hit Join a League. Go to LABRSEC24, LABRSEC24. You can pick each SEC game that week, play against your friends, and enter to win weekly and season-long prizes. If you're not a member, get the Penn Play app today. LeBear's Baton Rouge is your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Closing up hour number 1, some interesting news hitting the Twitterverse earlier today. Saw various reports. It's been confirmed by multiple people now, so I feel comfortable talking about it. And this is one of those deals where I come on the air and there is news that is developed, and I don't have any information as to the inner workings of said news. All I can do is just react to it purely on a surface level. And this is fascinating to me. Jakeem Stewart is potentially the number one player in the nation in the current junior high school class. He spent his last couple of years at St. Aug. He's a defensive tackle. By many accounts, absolutely the real deal, top 5 player in the country. And there was a report last week that he was leaving St. Aug to go to IMG Academy, which happens a lot throughout the country. IMG's kind of turned into a factory of collegiate athletes. They've got money and facilities and coaches, and there's a ton of exposure that goes into it because there are constantly, people there recruiting and scouting and all that. And so it's something that happens a lot. It's really good players leave home for a year or two and they go play at IMG to develop for the next level and for their future in that sport. And that made a lot of sense. I'm sure it would be a big bummer to those at St. Aug that the best player in the country, who's right there from New Orleans and enrolled in your school and has been on your team for a couple of years, leaves for the last 2 years. But it does happen. What I'm seeing now with this report doesn't happen very often. Jakeem Stewart has reportedly enrolled at Edna Carr. And that is fascinating. Because once again, I don't know why. I've never spoken to Jakeem Stewart. I don't know anything about his relationship with the folks at St. Aug versus his relationship with the folks at Carr. I don't even know anyone at St. Aug or Carr. I know what both their uniforms like. I can rattle off really high-profile recruits that have played at both. I know they have had legendary high school and college players that have gone on to the NFL. Tyrann Mathieu and obviously Leonard Fournette, and Trey Turner, and then over on the Carr side, you've had just a litany of fantastic athletes that have gone on to do great things in football. I do know that those two schools are among the powerhouses in New Orleans, and the best player from St. Aug leaving to go to Carr is fascinating. And the fact is that he has to sit out this year. The best player in the country can't play because of transfer rules. It's just not all that common that you would see a high schooler 10 days into September enroll in a different school that makes them ineligible. We used to see when I was up in Shreveport, every so often, a player's family from somewhere in Texas would uproot to come play at Evangel because Evangel's they were cutting edge on offense. They were spreading it out and throwing it all over the place before anyone else was doing that. And you knew that there were going to be college coaches there and scouts there, and you felt like it was the best thing for the development of your young player. So you make a move into town and you uproot your family and go. This is not that. This is just going to a different school. And I'm fascinated. I don't have a comment on whether it's good or bad. I don't have a comment on whether it matters to LSU. I don't know any of that stuff, but this is not something you see.
No, it's not. And the only thing that I can surmise from it and what I've heard people say is that he's planning to reclassify, which
Evan Marshall says that in the chat. He wants to graduate early and St. Aug doesn't allow that.
Yeah.
That's fine. That makes a lot of sense.
Now, it's not confirmed, of course, but that would make the most sense considering he will not be able to play this year. So what other reason would there be, really?
So you play this year. You don't play this year. You go to school at Carr. You spend the summer there. You play your last season at Carr, and then at Christmas time, you enroll in your college.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes plenty of sense. I can see that thought through. That's a sacrifice that he's going to make of not playing his junior season. I guess he'll go out there and practice with the guys. I would imagine that that'll be the case, and that makes Monday through Thursday not real fun for whoever the starting center is at Carr. Sorry to you that you got to deal with that every single weekday for the next 9 weeks. But that does make a lot of sense, and again, that's what I'm saying. That's how I led the segment. Like I don't know, I don't have all the information, and if you're telling me that that's part of this, I get it. As far as LSU is concerned and how this affects LSU, we talked about what the impact could be going to IMG, and I felt like it would be negligible, but you could probably paint it as a negative. Staying there in New Orleans and going to a school that obviously LSU staff knows very, very well. I don't think this is a big deal to LSU. They're certainly going to prioritize him a big way in this next class that's coming up, and hopefully you can reel him in, no matter if he's a Purple Knight or Cougar. Is that right? Ethnicar Cougar? Is that right? It's some
maybe.
kind of cat. I can see the paw print on the helmet.
I think so.
But either way, I don't think it affects LSU in a big way. But big story out of the Big Easy with Jakeem Stewart transferring from St. Aug to Edna Carr for during his junior year.
Got it,
He'll be
Cougars.
ineligible. Yep, there you go, Edna Carr Cougars. That's me. Wild story there from the Big Easy. Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Invite you to come on out tonight to Plucker Sports Trivia 8:30. We'll be calling out some trivia questions. You can win Plucker's gift cards. Get best team name gets a $10 gift card as well. So if you're not as great with the trivia, but think you can make some people laugh and get the $10 Plucker's gift card, you can come out and do that as well. Eat some wings, enjoy some delicious beer. You don't want to waste food in the house. You're going to want to keep that for the next couple of days. Go out tonight. Come on out to Pluckers. Come see us at 8:30. We'll have you out of there by 10 o'clock. Looking forward to getting out there to the Nicholson location as we are every single Tuesday. All right. Hour 2 coming up. Sharie Ishack in 5 minutes. We'll talk Saints with Sharie. And then we'll talk a little LSU throughout the rest of the hour. If you missed any of the first hour, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. You can certainly find us. Open the show talking about LSU's running game. Glenn West was with us. We heard some sound from Dennis Allen as well. Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints, 2 YouTube channels you can check out each and every day for your Saints and LSU content. We'll step aside for Sports Center. Come back with more Sharie Ishack, WDSU, next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques, Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Steelers quarterback Justin Fields in line to make a second straight start. The team's preparing for Sunday's game against the Broncos as if Fields is the starter. He did get the call in the season opener in place of the injured Russell Wilson. Wilson does feel better, will be monitored this week. ESPN NFL analyst Dominique Foxworth.
Neither Russell or Fields are inspiring at all right now for this team, but Fields managed, and I think the ceiling is higher for him. The problem with Russell is he's a low ceiling and a low floor. At least Fields has a low floor and a high ceiling.
Dominique Foxworth on Get Up. 4 ex-Michigan players, including former quarterback Denard Robinson and receiver Braylon Edwards, have filed a class action lawsuit against the NCAA and Big Ten Network, seeking more than $50 million for being wrongfully and unlawfully denied the opportunity to earn money off their name, image, and likeness. The lawsuit on behalf of all Michigan football players who played before 2016. UFC CEO Dana White targeting early 2025 for Conor McGregor's return to UFC. He hasn't fought in over 3 years after breaking his leg in a loss at UFC 264.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Wednesday, I'll tell you the teams who are ready to contend but won't because of their head coach. Looking at you, Jets. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We're brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Usually in hour number 2, we have Sharie Ishack talking Saints and Pels at 2:30. Sharif's got hurricane duties, so we bumped him up 30 minutes, and he's good enough to come on with us. Sharif, how are things in the Big Easy?
The things in the Big Easy are fine, but your boy's not in the Big Easy. Your boy's all the way in the Gulf of Mexico, pretty much. And you know what that means.
Okay. Yeah, that's so. Are you in Southwest Louisiana, or are you down on the Southeast coast?
I'm on the Southeast. I'm in Grand Isle. That's you know where that is, all the way down there. I'm at the end of Earth.
Are we thinking there's going to be an impact there?
Yes, there's always an impact. Anytime a storm comes through, you know, the Houma, Morgan City area, that you know, Lafourche and Grand Isle usually take a nice hit. And the good thing is at least it's moving fast. So. Yeah, they're going to take a nice hit. They have a mandatory evacuation at Grand Isle. So.
Okay, well, hope you stay safe. Everybody down there stay safe. Great people down there in Grand Isle. We have everybody along the Louisiana Gulf Coast who's all right over the next 72 hours or so. But let's talk some sports, Sharif. Are the Saints the Super Bowl favorite? Some are saying yes.
You know, I come on here and joke a lot, say 17-0, but look, they did what they were supposed to do times 10 because last year beat the Panthers, but the offense looked like an absolute mess. You remember that game at home, Eric McCoy and Derek Carr went at it after that one play whenever Carr got sacked. It was different. I mean, you saw the pre-snap motion, play action. You saw a little bit of everything with the offense. Clint Kubiak called a masterful game, the 9 straight possessions with the starters scoring some points, the 47 points, the franchise record in the opener. I mean, you couldn't have asked for anything better, honestly. Maybe like a couple more touchdowns instead of field goals. But outside of that, that was done really well. It was really well. I mean, you got to see a little bit of everything from the offense.
Was there anything that surprised you about the offense pleasantly?
You're going to love this. The offensive line. Trevor Penning. Trevor Penning, outside of one holding call, I thought he was a mauler, especially in the run game. You saw a couple of times Alvin Kamara run to the right side, and Trevor Penning was just bullying that side of the line for the Carolina Panthers. He was just mauling people, and he was opening holes. And even Tele Fuaga did a pretty good job on the left side to open up that big hole for Jamal Williams to run on that touchdown. They had 180 yards on the ground. You got to eventually give the offensive line credit. I know people want to say it's Carolina Panthers, but I can tell you, like I told you a second ago, last year they weren't even close to doing the same thing. So I think that was just it's a good step in the right direction. I'm not going to say, yay, we're going to say the Saints are the playoff favorites. They're going to win the NFC South, but it's a good step in the right direction. It's what you wanted to see from Derek Carr, wanted to see from the offensive line, you wanted to see from Clint Kubiak. So you got exactly what you wanted against a bad team.
I talked in my first hour about Alvin Kamara, understanding that he's got some financial desires that he wants to see rectified over the next 12 months, but they're not affecting him from going to practice and going out there and producing. And then he's in great spirits in the post-game press conferences from what we can see. That doesn't always happen in sports, and I think that's a huge credit to Kamara for the way that he's handling everything.
I really appreciated what he said about how much he loves the fans, how much he loves the city. I'm kind of paraphrasing. He didn't want to look selfish by sitting out and not playing for the city, the fans, and his teammates, and showed up. I mean, you got 83 rushing yards, the most he's had since the 2022 finale against the Carolina Panthers, when he had 107 yards. By the way, he still hasn't had a 100-yard game since then.
Yeah.
But you saw that. You saw the 104 total yards, 104 yards from scrimmage. He looked sharp. He looked sharp, man. He looked very focused, locked in. I mean, whenever your offense is like that and your running backs are doing that and Alvin Kamara is able to, float around and run in space, and you keep him happy, boy, you're going to keep a lot of people happy. You're going to keep the fan base happy. We're going to talk about it in a second when it comes to the Derek Carr and the fan base thing. But, Alvin just being very focused and locked in and happy, man. The smile he had on the podium after the game just said it all, man. I know he has his house up for sale, but he has so much love for the city. He has so much love for the fan base.
And Derek Carr lowers his shoulder on a run, then he gets up flexing on another run after a quarterback sneak, and then he's talking about wanting to prove to the fans that he's in it. I mean, what do you make of all that?
I think he's heard the negativity. He hears the outside noise. Although he says, I'm not really paying attention to it. He's paying attention to it a lot. So, and the fans, they're mostly positive. Even during the introductions, I might have heard a scatter of boos for Derek Carr, but that changed as the game went along, especially on that first 59-yard touchdown pass to Rashid Shaheed. Pressure in his face delivers an absolute dart to Rashid Shaheed for the touchdown. I mean, you cannot be mad about that. You should be cheering how Derek Carr played in that game and how he made that throw and the throw to Foster Moreau, although he said he should have run the ball. But he said once Foster put his hands up, or any receiver throws their hands up, he's just going to throw the ball to them. So luckily, it was a good throw, and Foster was able to get it. And that Juwan Johnson was a good decision with the offensive line, giving him a lot of time to roll out and throw an absolute dime right into the corner of that end zone. So I like it. I like what he did. Now, of course, I want to see what they do Sunday in Dallas. But, yeah, it's nice. It was nice to see. And I think the fans, let them hear it.
What was the best part of the defense?
Best part of the defense was, continuing to, make Bryce Young look worse than he did last year when they played him. I mean, he is not ready. I'm not even sure if Dave Canales can fix him. I feel bad for Bryce Young, man. I mean, they spent a fortune on, making that trade to get Bryce Young, and he looked awful. And there's no other way to say it. He just looked absolutely awful. And, yes, the Saints defense made him look bad, but the best thing I saw, Alontae Taylor, the 3 sacks, the first time that's been done by a Saints defensive back. And he got a joke. He goes, man, he's like, interceptions are great, but, you get paid for sacks in the NFL. So he leads the NFL in sacks after 1 week. So there you go. He's tied to first. But I was really impressed. This is what it's been building up to all offseason with Alontae, saying he is going to be the guy that they want him to be. He'll do whatever they want him to do, play on the edge, play outside, inside. And look, he stepped up to the line and blitzed 3 times and got 3 sacks. So that, I think, was the best part of the defense. I know they had the 3 turnovers, but that was the best part to me. And watching Chase Young get back there, even though he didn't get a sack, but he was back there a lot in Bryce Young's face.
He was a terror. I mean, the stat sheet's not going to do him justice at all. He was very, very present. If you were watching that game, he's going to be a force, I think, all year if he can stay healthy. Do you feel differently about the Saints today than you did last week?
Yeah, I do. I feel a little bit better because I was telling myself, I just want to see what this offense can do. It's been so down and up, more down than up during the offseason and during the training camp, even though they weren't really showing much in those preseason games. And even in practice, you're like, I'm not sure what it's going to be. Hey, at least in the first game, they showed what they can be. It's not going to be 47 points every game, but if you're getting to the 27 to 31 mark for most of your games, you should feel good, especially knowing what's on the other side of your of this team, and they can probably produce a lot for you, and that's the defense.
All right, here comes Dallas, Atlanta, and Kansas City. I mean, we've been talking about it since the schedule came out. This is the toughest part of the entire schedule. They did what they had to do on Sunday. What do you need to see from them on Sunday against Dallas?
What Dallas did in Cleveland was something special, man. Dak gets paid and goes out there and backs it up. I need to know if Marshawn Lattimore is going to play that hamstring. I said it'd be fine if they had like an injury in the secondary because they're deep. Look at Alante, he's showing he can play. Paulson to Debo, even Kool-Aid McCann will have to step up, but I'm not sure. Going against CeeDee Lamb in that secondary should be a fun one, but it'd be good to see if the defense continue doing that. If they could get give them half that effort that they did in Carolina, they'd be in good shape, especially if the offense can kind of click into the upper 20s and have a chance to win that game. It's going to be tough. I said if they can split one of the next two games, they're in good shape, especially if they can win. They lose, I think they can beat the Eagles. I said one of those two teams at the end of the season may not be that good. So I'm still sticking to it. I think they can beat one of those two teams.
We shall certainly see. So stay safe down there on the coast, Sharif. We'll talk next week.
All right, hon. Hopefully I'm not floating in the Gulf of Mexico.
We hope that very much. We'll talk to you next week. Sharie Ishack, WDSU, down there in Grand Isle on hurricane duty, but good enough to step aside and talk a little bit of Saints with us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. All right, let's chug right along. We'll go back to LSU football when we come back. I want to talk a little bit about LSU's secondary and some of the pieces that are going to be shaken up this week and what you can expect kind of moving forward. We understand there have been some highs and some real lows for this group through 2 weeks, so let's talk about that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Look, if you're sitting there with a Boudreaux's electric generator at your home or your business right now, you're probably feeling all right about things because you know that you're not going to have to worry about power outages. If you don't and you're feeling that dread of thinking, do I need to leave? Do I need to stay? Really don't want the power to go out. If that's the situation that you're in, you can rectify that. And you can have the peace of mind of knowing that you can have a home standby generator from the folks over there at Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa have been running that shop for 40 years. They've been down in the 985 for 40 years. They've got a location now on the 225. Check them out online at boudreauxelectrical.com. And now that this storm's going to run through hopefully pretty quickly here over the next 72 hours, after that one's gone, make the phone call so you don't have to deal with this sense of dread. Again, you understand that you're not going to be without power when these storms come through. You can do that with a Generac home standby generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. The number they've had for 40 years is 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. If you'd like to call the Gonzales location, you can call them in the 225. It's 300-9389. 300-9389. Every single Generac home standby generator comes with a 7 to 10-year warranty. All about peace of mind. All about customer service, all about Boudreaux's Electrical. Check them online, boudreauxelectrical.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. there are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
So I'm not going to try to play weatherman or meteorologist here. That is certainly well beyond my capabilities, but I can read tweets. Just looking at the latest update from the National Weather Service and some of the trackers that are available, it continues to shift east, and it looks like more and more that the eye might actually travel east of Baton Rouge, between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. So those of y'all that are listening to us closer to the New Orleans area, Slidell area, that thought, this is not going to be very much a direct hit of New Orleans. Based on some of the things that I'm looking at on Twitter now, it is shifting that direction. So I hope everybody's staying vigilant, understands that they need to be prepared, and we'll get through this. We get through them all. We'll get through this one, but hopefully it goes quickly. It dissipates when it hits on land. But got to stay prepared for all of it. So we'll keep you posted as we get information. I do want to let y'all know that if you're looking for storm coverage, Talk 107.3, our sister station, is going to be all over it. Brian Haldane had the mayor president on earlier today. He had the Baton Rouge police sheriff deputy on earlier today. He's got tons of information and guests, and they'll be wall to wall starting tomorrow. So if you're looking for storm coverage, certainly check out our sister station, Talk 107.3. All right, let's talk a little bit about LSU's secondary. That's certainly going through more of a shakeup now in entering week 3. Brian Kelly had his press conference yesterday, and this is something that we touched on, but I wanted to hear the sound directly from him about Sage Ryan, who was playing safety exclusively in the spring and then came back in the fall and played exclusively cornerback, which they said they were cross-training him. He started at cornerback against USC, but it appears he's moving back a level come Saturday.
I think that's where he can help us the best. Look, he's a very versatile player for us, but I think that's where he fits right now for us. You know, we've really focused in now with Alexander playing at the level he has. I think it just makes sense for us to keep him at the safety position.
I agree with that. I think Sage Ryan is a safety. I don't think he's a boundary corner. I think he can play nickel. I think he's a safety. I think that's his best position. And so you look at what that does to the rest of LSU secondary. As he mentioned, Zy Alexander is coming along. We'll hear about that in a second. But you've got Major Burns at the star. You've got Jordan Gilbert and Jordan Allen. You've got young players who have gotten a few more reps in Deshaun Spears and Kylan Jackson. And then you've got Ashton Stamps and P.J. Woodland who are giving you some snaps at corner as well. None of this is totally inspiring to me, but you try to start kind of moving the puzzle pieces around and see what could be the best combination. And potentially Zy Alexander's emergence could be the biggest development.
I think what we have found is that nobody is at a point where they can play 65, 70 snaps. We have to get our players playing at the highest level, but not playing that many snaps. I think Zy can play, 30, 35, but he's going to have to be spelled as well. So, I think you're going to see 4 corners playing. I think you're going to see 4 or 5 safeties playing. So I think we're going to really rely on the depth of those units to make certain that we're playing at the highest level. And I think we'll be a better defensive backfield playing in that capacity.
I am torn on this defensive backfield right now because I really liked some of the things that I saw in the opener. I didn't like anything on Saturday. Anything. Easy slants. Trick plays getting behind folks. Couldn't force an incompletion. They started 11 for 11. 9 of 9 in the first half. I realize that there's a part of you that's playing a lesser team that doesn't want to take a chance they hit a big play, make them go the length of the field on you, keep everything in front and tackle, and that's probably the best way to win the game. But as I'm sitting there watching, I don't care in that moment if LSU is going to win the game against Nichols. Yeah, they're going to win the game. It's Nichols. I'd like to make a play on the football. I'd like to be there to contest a throw. And you saw that against USC. You know the plays we're talking about. Ashton Stamps in the end zone. You saw Jordan Allen get his hand on the ball on a 3rd down. I saw P.J. Woodland have a pass breakup after an interference call. There are plays you could point to and go, okay, they're fighting. They're in position. They're making some plays. Yeah, Miller Moss threw for 340. That's not good. But guess what? This is not Morris Claiborne, Tyrann Mathieu, Ron Brooks, Eric Reed, and Brandon Taylor. This is not that. This is not Corey Webster and and Travis Daniels and Jesse Daniels and Jack Hunt. It's not. We know that. It's not Randall Gay out there who played in the NFL. This is not that group from a talent perspective. I'm not asking them to be in no-fly zone, but I'd like to see something better than what I saw on Saturday. And they're going to have to do that a little bit in this game. Hopefully, their intensity level comes up. Zy Alexander's play helps them out. And as I look at this, I think your best personnel group is probably Ashton Stamps on one corner and Zy Alexander on the other, with Jordan Gilbert and Sage Ryan in the back end. And then at star, I'm going to need to look around and see what we can find. I don't know if it's Major Burns. I don't know if it's moving Harold Perkins. I don't know what the best option is there at corner. I don't know if it's J.K. Johnson or Jair Brown. But I'd like to see a little bit of a shake-up personnel-wise. And Zy Alexander going to one corner and Sage Ryan backing up is a change. Now, you could blow right back at me and go, well, I watched the worst defense in the history of LSU football last year, and that included Ashton Stamps on one corner and Zy Alexander on one corner and Sage Ryan and Major Burns out there, and you're telling me those are 4 of the first 5. And you're not wrong. I don't know how big an impact P.J. Woodland can have. Jair Brown, Deshaun Spears. These are unknowns. And it sounds like they're not going to be unknowns for a long time because, as you just heard from Brian Kelly, they're going to put all those guys out there. And hopefully, some tape somewhere suggests what the best group is, and they can find a group and roll with it. It hurts to suggest this when you're talking about LSU football. We don't want to do that. But I would be hard-pressed to look at this secondary group and suggest that it's got all SEC-type talent. Like, that's as kind as I can be with it. They're going to have to try to mask it, but that's a little difficult when you consider that I just said the exact same thing about defensive tackle yesterday. And that's kind of where you are. Maybe, hopefully, I'm just overreacting, and that's wrong. And the guys that did go out there and did a decent job against the run and made some plays against the pass against USC are going to be back out there this week against a different USC and make some more of those plays. And they just were disinterested and tired against Nichols and didn't get it done. Hopefully. That seems unlikely to me, but hopefully that's the case. But as I look at this secondary, they do have to move some pieces. They can't continue to be exactly what they were the last 2 weeks. And we'll see how this one looks. You're still in a mode where the toughest games on your schedule are almost a month away. South Carolina looks more difficult today than they did last Friday, but they're still a bottom quarter of the SEC team. I'm not concerned about how you play against South Alabama, and I think UCLA stinks. We'll see them again this weekend. They're on the road at Bloomington in Indiana, and we'll see. But I think your teams after South Carolina, you really have an advantage on, and you're playing at home. And then you got your bye. This becomes the biggest hurdle. And hopefully these guys step up to the plate, make some plays defensively, force an inexperienced quarterback that's questionable through the air to make some bad throws. This is not Miller Moss you're playing. This is a step down from that, but it's also not Nichols' quarterback. So it's clear that the LSU staff is doing everything they can to try to find the right combination, and they're moving a lot of pieces around, but it's also clear that they don't know what the answer is going to be. So we'll find out more on Saturday. After Saturday, we'll probably be able to take a deep breath. You just got to win by 1 point on Saturday and find a way to get back home and figure some things out. But it's a question mark in that secondary for sure. If you're looking for your LSU coverage, you can find it on YouTube, Hunt on LSU. If you don't want to go to YouTube and scroll through the whole show to find the segment that you're looking for, we upload the entire show every single day. But if you just want the 10-minute segments on the LSU team or Saints, Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints. Subscribe up to those channels. We certainly appreciate it. And we'll get you the content each and every day. Shout out to Cassie and Jesse and the whole crew for making that happen. Almost choked each and every day. All right, let's go to commercial. We'll come back and talk some more LSU football on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. Jonathan Carbo and his team, fantastic to work with. And we were talking about generators and storms and all that in the last live read, and this is the same type deal. Can't buy insurance now, as there's a hurricane in the Gulf. They'll put a moratorium on all new coverages, but you'd like to know that you have good coverage before that storm forms. And if you don't know what your insurance coverage says about your property, whether it's commercial or residential, it's probably a good thing to know. It means that you probably ought to call Highland Insurance Group or check them out online at HighlandIG.com and make sure that they can audit your policy, make sure that you've got everything that you need so that when those storms come through, you've got the peace of mind of knowing that even if there is an unfortunate occurrence, you've got the coverage to back yourself up. They got commercial property and casualty insurance. They can handle your group and employee benefits. They're a one-stop shop on the insurance front, located right here in Baton Rouge. They can handle your EPL, your crime, cyber, D&O, umbrella, all those things. If you're a business owner and aren't sure what all that means, Jonathan Carbo and his team at Highland Insurance Group can help you out with all of it. It's Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online, HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Bummer of a Monday yesterday for Cade York. Probably the best kicker in LSU history by my estimation. Set the school record for career field goals over 50 yards for 50-yarders in a single season. Probably best accomplishment was the kick in the swamp to beat Florida in the fog from 57. Was draft pick of the Cleveland Browns. Got off to a rough start with the Browns. Had a bumpy rookie year, then was released in training camp the next year, bounced around on a couple of practice squads with the Titans and the Giants, and then the Browns brought him back, and then they traded him to Washington, and Washington sent him out there for a couple field goals on Sunday, and he went 0 for 2, and that made their decision pretty easy because they traded a conditional 7th-round pick for York. What were the conditions of that 7th-round pick? Well, he has to play 2 games for Washington for Cleveland to get that 7th-round pick. He missed 2 field goals in the first game. We're not going to keep you around for that. We're going to keep our 7th-round pick. We'll go get another kicker somewhere else. So Cade York looking for a job now as he has been released by the Washington Commanders. It's a real bummer. I didn't see it coming. I thought he'd kick in the league for a very, very long time, but did not work out for Cade York. He has been cut by Washington. All right, let's look at South Carolina here briefly. Shane Beamer met with the media earlier this afternoon. Actually, that was the afternoon. It was the afternoon in Columbia for sure because I watched a lot of it. It was right before we went on the air. And just kind of previewed LSU and started by talking about their offense, which was really, really bad in the opener against Old Dominion and got a little bit better in Lexington against Kentucky. This is Shane Beamer.
You got to eliminate the negative plays. We've had way too many negative plays, especially this week. You know, we're playing a defensive coordinator that was at Missouri the last 3 seasons and frankly embarrassed us the last 3 seasons with the number of negative plays. I think in 3 games we've had like 8 sacks and 24 tackles for loss, if I'm not mistaken, in the last 3 years. So efficiency, efficient runs. Not every pass is going to be a 50-yard explosive down the field, but just being able to have efficient passes and stay on schedule as an offense will be key this week. And that's, to me, that's kind of the next step that we got to get better at.
I think it's certainly a positive that Blake Baker's had success against a Shane Beamer South Carolina team, but keep in mind that that's not Shane Beamer's not running the offense. Dowell Loggins is new as their offensive coordinator this year, and there's no Spencer Rattler. It's a completely different look with Lenore Sellers. So probably not a ton that you can take from a completely different Missouri personnel to LSU's personnel, and then a completely different offense South Carolina's running with a different quarterback. I don't know if it's apples to apples, but it's not a bad thing that LSU's defensive coordinator has liked what he's seen from South Carolina over the last couple of years. Beamer continued on his offense.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. It's nowhere near as good as it needs to be. We need to be more efficient. We've had some negative runs and negative plays, and we've got to have positive yardage. In my mind, we're too good on the offensive line to have negative plays, and it's everybody. It's receivers, it's running backs, it's tight ends, it's quarterbacks, reads, it's everybody. So we've got to be more efficient. There's no question about it. I like, schematically what we're doing. I thought there were some runs on Saturday that really could have been even more explosive than what they were. We need to be better. Not every play is going to be a 20, 30-yard run, but we need to make sure that we're, constantly running that thing for better than whatever we were yards per carry the other day. I think we were less than 3. We've got to be better.
They're going to try to run the ball at LSU. No Jacoby and Guillory, unproven defensive front, quarterback making his first SEC start at home. I feel like they're going to try to run the football right at LSU, and that'll be number one objective for LSU is to stop South Carolina's running game. Rocket Sanders is the running back now at South Carolina. Of course, spent all those years at Arkansas where he was an exceptional All-SEC back, and now he is a South Carolina Gamecock, and Shane Beamer talked about Rocket Sanders and what they're looking for out of him.
So that was the cut we just played.
I thought we had an extra Rocket Sanders one.
No, the other one we had was about the LSU defense.
Oh, well, let's play that then.
I think the thing that jumps off tape is just the effort they play with. They've brought in not just Coach Baker from Missouri, but brought in, Texas's defensive line coach and brought in some other people. And those guys are playing with great effort. I mean, there's a play against Southern Cal where Southern Cal double teams one of the defensive tackles for LSU, takes him to the ground, but then the D tackle gets up and he's the guy that makes the tackle for like a 2-yard gain. And then you can tell they have a lot of confidence in what they're doing. They've got good players and they're out there playing with great confidence and playing fast and getting lined up and going and playing and utilizing their abilities.
So that's a lot of vanilla talk about a defense that probably doesn't look that great on tape, quite frankly. So they get lined up, they play fast, they're real confident. I didn't see much of any of that for LSU over the last 2 weeks, but that's what the coach has got to say. I listened to Shane Beamer's press conference earlier today, and one of the things that he made a real point to say, and I think it's relevant for LSU certainly, is he's talking about the energy in Columbia with game day coming for the first time in a decade, and he's talking about pleading with fans to get there early because traffic can bottleneck for those 11 o'clock, noon their time kickoffs. Everybody's kind of getting there at the same time. You talk about a 7 o'clock kickoff. Some people come at 9 in the morning. Some people come at noon. Some people come after lunch. Some people come for kickoff. And you've got a lot of different times during the day where everybody's coming. You're coming out there for a noon kickoff. Pretty much everybody's coming at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Like it's just everybody piling in there to come to the game, and he wants everyone to get there very, very early. Now, that's not relevant at all to you because you're probably not going to the game. But what the point I'm trying to make is, like, they are pumping this game up big time. And South Carolina is going to show up and show out in the stands for this game. You got game day coming. You got LSU coming. They're coming off a big win. This will be a raucous environment for LSU. I talked about this all summer. South Carolina, for really the entirety of their football program, has sucked. They've been terrible. They had a blip there with Spurrier where they were winning 10 games a year because Spurrier's incredible, and he just happened to show up when that state produced Jadeveon Clowney, Marcus Lattimore, and Stephon Gilmore. And that's a pretty good trio to kind of build a roster around. And he had Steven Garcia and then Connor Shaw rolled in, and they got it going for 3 years. And that's the best run they've ever had in the history of their program. Outside of that, they've been pitiful. Lou Holtz showed up and got them to an Independence Bowl, I think. But they've been bad the whole time. But that being said, their fans always show up. Their fans always show up. It's not a situation where they need the team to be really good to be at their best because they don't ever enjoy that. It just doesn't happen very often. So they just come to support their guys. Well, now you're pumping a little more life into them. Game day gang's in town. They'll be on the field for the last hour of that show. Sandstorm will be going. The towels will be waving. It's going to be a real environment. And as I said on Monday, and as I said back on Friday, getting ready for the weekend with South Carolina and Kentucky. Had South Carolina gotten smoked in Lexington a week after a hapless effort against Old Dominion, I think you would have seen a pensive crowd that kind of saw the writing on the wall that this was a bad deal that was coming. Now you've got a team that's coming off a huge win, that's got game day coming, and they feel like this is an incredible opportunity. You went from, this is not good, to huge opportunity in 3 hours. You kick Kentucky's butt. Game day made the announcement. Whoa, here we are. And so they're going to make this a big deal in Columbia, and LSU needs to be prepared for that. I've been in that stadium in 2008, the last time LSU was there, which is wild. LSU hadn't been there in 16 years, but I was there in 2008. I actually rode the student bus. I was in a streak where I had been to every single LSU game since I had been in school, 6, 7, and into 8. And that's a long trip, and we found out, me and one buddy found out that they were doing the student bus trip. We were like, doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world. You hop on the bus Friday evening at Tiger Stadium, you get some blankets and pillows, throw some snacks in a backpack, and fall asleep hopefully somewhere on I-10 and wake up in Columbia and go watch a football game. And then you watch a football game and you get back in the bus and you bundle back up and you go to sleep. And you wake up, and I was on my couch on Sunday morning at like 9:45 a.m. It was nice. But I'd been in that stadium, and it was loud. It was loud, unless you got a little assist from the referee on a running play, I believe, that sprang for a touchdown, and the Tigers won that day. But it was loud. It's small, and it's got openings in the corner of the end zone. It's kind of like Auburn Stadium, but shrunk down a little bit. Doesn't compare with the Neylands and the Swamp and Tiger Stadium and Bryant-Denny and Kyle Field. It's not that intimidating structurally, but it is loud, and they're into it. And it's going to be a really good environment on Saturday that LSU is going to have to handle. And he mentioned in his press conference, like, this is a starting quarterback for LSU that has played in a neutral site bowl game, and then played in a home game, and then played in a neutral site game in the opener this year. And he said it was a home game for LSU, basically. I don't think that's true. I think it was far closer to 50-50 than that. And I'm not concerned about Garrett Nussmeier being overwhelmed by the moment. But it is going to be the loudest environment that he has played in to date when LSU's got the ball. I just think that South Carolina's fans in their home stadium are going to make more noise than the USC fans with half the stadium. So it's going to be important for LSU to handle that, for Garrett Nussmeier to handle that, for Joe Sloan to handle that, and we'll see how things go. But make no mistake, they're going to be keyed up in Columbia come Saturday morning, our time, in Williams-Brice Stadium. All right, let's step aside one more time. We'll take a timeout, come back, play some Take It or Leave It, and get on down the road. It's a Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com. If you want your place to be the place to watch games all fall long, Audio Video Security Solutions can help you with that. Your home entertainment system may need a little bit of an upgrade. Maybe you just got the one TV sitting there, no surround sound. Jazz it up. Get that TV mounted. Put the speakers in. Make sure you've got the technology to sync the sound up in your kitchen, living room, and maybe outdoor area. So if you've got a game watching party, you've got all the sound synced up. It's so annoying when one television is 2 seconds ahead of the other one and you're hearing the echo of the announcer room to room. You can fix that. Audio Video Security Solutions, Mitchell Fisher and his team can do it. This is Mitchell Sell. He's the owner of the company right here in Baton Rouge. You give him a call, 225-439-7920. He'll hook you up. 225-439-7920. They're the People's Choice Award for the best vendor at the Parade of Homes earlier this year. Fantastic local company, fantastic customer service, and they can do great work at your home or your business. Check them out online, avssla.com. Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com.
it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Congratulations to Quentin Lewis from Walker. Quentin is the Week 2 winner in our 2024 Pick'em contest and wins a Hooters wing party for 10. Don't forget to make your picks for round 3 by Thursday at noon. That's just a few days from now. Weekly winners will receive a Hooters wing party for 10 people, and the first place season-long champion will receive a 75-inch 4K flat-screen TV and soundbar, plus free Hooters wings for an entire year. It's the 2024 College Football Pick'em presented by Hooters.
All right, let's close up shop here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're always brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't want to eat the food that's in your house tonight for dinner because you think you may need it if there's power outages or you're stuck at home for the next couple of days, well, go out tonight. The weather's going to be fine tonight. You're going out to Plucker's, get some delicious wings. You can get some fantastic tater tots, French fries, got the chips, blue cheese chips. Good stuff there as well. Holy macaroni, cold beer, sports on TV, and sports trivia tonight at 8:30 Nicholson location. Very, very much looking forward to getting out there, watching the Cubbies, and you can win some gift cards at Pluckers tonight. They always bring you our Tuesday shows, and we certainly appreciate them. All right, Beck, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Paul Skeens broke the Pirates rookie strikeout record in his start last night, bringing his season total to 151. He's just the 4th rookie to reach 150 strikeouts in 20 starts or less, joining a pretty good group: Kerry Wood, Dwight Gooden, and Mark Pryor. A couple of Cubbies in there.
Gosh.
Skeens will be the NL Rookie of the Year. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I haven't looked as deeply as I should.
I did recently, and I think there is a guy that's kind of rocketed to the top of the list above Skeens. I can't remember who it was. It's a position player. I can't remember who it is, but yeah, he's still up there at the top 2, though, in terms of Rookie of the Year.
Man, that just makes me so sad that Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor were so good back in 2003. I thought Mark Pryor was going to win 5 or 6 Cy Youngs. He was just completely unhittable. And he did not win 5 or 6 Cy Youngs. He did not even win the pennant with the Cubs. So that's just a sad state of affairs. But Skeen's fantastic. He's had an unbelievable year. Even in the outings that he hasn't had his best stuff, he's found a way to get through those 5 innings with 1 or 2 runs. It's been great to watch, and he's going to be very, very good there for a few years until he signs with somebody else because they can't pay him.
All right, next one here. Auburn quarterback Peyton Thorne was getting Venmo requests for refunds on people that bet on Auburn to win after his 4-interception performance against Cal. Take it or leave it.
Gonna leave that.
That's a bit much.
I am always a little bit taken back at people's actions on the internet. I realize I shouldn't be, but like the amount of people that are routinely going to the internet and social media to harass athletes because they didn't think they performed well enough is shocking to me.
Yeah.
And I'm well aware that there are hundreds, thousands listening to my show right now that do that all the time. And it just is amazing to me. I don't understand and I realize alcohol is involved a lot, but wanting to go and try to make someone who plays for your team feel worse about their performance on the internet. It's amazing to me.
It's a bit strange, when especially whenever you have to consider the fact that when you're betting on college football, you're betting on teenagers most of the time. So if something goes wrong, just try to remember all the mistakes you made as a teenager and then compound them to the fact that whenever these guys are playing on a very big stage in front of thousands of people, it's sometimes they mess up, and maybe you should cut some slack there and not send them Venmo requests for money because you decide to bet on them. By the way, not really sure why too many people really would think that Auburn was going to be a big winner there against Cal. Like they're coming off a pretty bad season last year. Peyton Thorne wasn't very good, so not really sure what you expected there.
That's the moral of my story. I mean, I was listening to Auburn Undercover podcast when I was running this morning, and apparently the offensive line was atrocious.
Yeah,
but still, you can't throw 4 picks.
No.
Sorry.
Next one here, ex-Michigan athletes, including Denard Robinson, are suing the Big Ten Network for $50 million in lost NIL dollars. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'm going to leave it. I'm not in a position where I might be able to recoup tens of millions of dollars, so I can't put myself directly in those shoes. But, I don't love when collegiate athletes I'm having trouble articulating it, obviously. I feel like it's such an opportunity to be a student athlete, to get a scholarship, to play on ESPN, and to have that life experience. And when I hear student athletes just scream exploitation when that happens, I just disagree with that a little bit. I understand there's an element to it, and I absolutely agree that it's great now that student athletes can make money on their name, image, and likeness for some things. But I don't know that we need to go back and pay everyone who's ever played college athletics because the rules were different back then. I just don't see it that way.
Yeah,
I think that Denard Robinson had an incredible opportunity to go play at Michigan, and he earned that through hard work. But to get an education at a great school like that, and to play on national television and elevate himself and give himself opportunities after he was done, and he would have made money with shirts with a shoelace on them. There's no doubt. But I just don't know. I don't love that attitude. Just to point to a specific example, Ben Simmons crying poor in that documentary. I just hated it. I really did. I hate it. But that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I understand why these guys who played obviously before NIL that they would be a little upset that they didn't get to cash in as well. So I understand the sentiment. I'm not sure how far they're going to get in a lawsuit like this, just because it's things change, things evolve, and it's hard to go back and change something like that. So I'm not sure how that's going to go. But last one here, 4-star power forward Matt Gilhul will announce his college decision this evening. Matt McMahon will get his first 2025 commitment. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. By all accounts on the internet, LSU looks like they're in great shape here. Number 1 player in the state of Pennsylvania. A top 100 player by all the sites. 4-star player by all the sites. 6'10". Got some good size, and I watched a little bit of tape on him. It looked pretty good player. So I'm hopeful that LSU does get that commitment this evening, and we'll certainly talk about it tomorrow if that does happen. But Matt McMahon, kind of quietly done a good job on the high school recruiting trail. That's one piece of the puzzle. You got to have the other pieces as well. But he's done a good job there, and this would be a really nice get for the first commitment of the 2025 class. Reminder that New Orleans native Chris Sinak is in this class as well. He's another 6'10" player who's really, really athletic and a top 10 player in the country in this class. So you're hopeful to get him. Certainly not a slam dunk by any stretch, but you're hopeful to get him. And everybody that you add into that class, you could have one of the top classes in the country, because LSU doesn't get top 10 players all that often, but they don't come out of New Orleans all that often either. Yeah. So hopeful that this is another really good high school class for Matt McMahon, a really good season coming up here in a couple of months. That's it for a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Pluckers. Open up the show today talking about LSU's running game and Brian Kelly's quotes from yesterday that were unprovoked, that I thought were very, very interesting. So you can catch that at Hunt on LSU on YouTube. Dennis Allen met with the media yesterday. We talked about that at 1:15. You can find that at Hunt on Saints. Glenn West from Go247 was with us at 1:30. Jakeem Stewart transferring from St. Aug to Carr. We mentioned that at the end of hour number 1. Sharie Ishack, actually from Grand Isle on Hurricane Watch down there, but he came on and talked a little Saints with us at 2 o'clock, and then I talked about LSU's secondary and the shakeup with Sage Ryan, Zy Alexander, and all the moving pieces that are coming this weekend against South Carolina at 2:15. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound, or as well on YouTube. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further Review. We absolutely plan to be back same time, same place. Unless something changes, we will certainly let you know. But have a great and safe Tuesday. I'll be out at Pluckers tonight. See you tomorrow on the Hunt Palmer Show.